I was going to start this video by singing a few lyrics of one of Elton John's songs, but I'll save you the torture and just go straight into my review of Rocketman, starring Taron Egerton, directed by Dexter Fletcher, written by Lee Hall, but really made by Elton John. This is Elton John's story as Elton John wants it to be told. He was very heavily involved in the making of this film. And what's interesting is you see interviews with him and they're like, well, why didn't you want to brush over the drug use and that kind of stuff? And he's like, no, I want to get real about that. And it's kind of funny because, yeah, they get real about that, but he kind of brushes over a lot of his involvement or his taking ownership, I guess is probably the way to describe it. His father disregarded him. His mother was kind of selfish. He had a manager that kind of screwed him over. This movie is Elton John basically saying, well, all of his drug problems, all of his life problems, well, that's somebody else's fault. And the reality is, like, everybody has shitty parents, okay? Big deal. You can't blame your fucking parents for everything that goes wrong in your life. But they do some nice things with this. Let's get past the story that is kind of a glazed over how Elton wants the world to see him story. And they do some nice things in this film where they kind of turn it into a musical, which is fun in the era of biopic musical picks that we have going on right now. I am looking forward to a David Bowie one, though. So Hollywood, if you're watching this, give me a good David Bowie one because I'm a huge Bowie fan. Anyway, they do some nice musical numbers where there's a scene going on and then they kind of go into song using Elton John songs. And I'm a huge fan of his music, so that was nice to see. I also want to say Taron Egerton's performance in this film was really good. I've only seen him in The Kingsman, and I love the Kingsman movies, but not because he's in them, but because they're good movies and they're really entertaining to watch. And so this was impressive to see him kind of stretch out his acting chops a little bit. And I also kind of I felt like he seemed to be enjoying it. It seemed like he was having fun with his performance. And that's something you don't see a lot in Hollywood, especially in certain types of films where actors are like getting fat, getting thin, getting whatever in order to show how serious they are about their craft. And I think part of being an actor and part of enjoying being an actor is having fun with it. And I really liked that Terrence seemed like he was having fun with his performance. He got to sing a lot in it, and it was kind of nice. I don't like the story. I don't like Elton John's involvement in this film, telling the film the way he wanted it to be told. I would have liked to see it a bit more realistic, and I just can't, I just don't like people or characters who blame others for everything. Yeah, he was in love and dated the guy that later became his manager. You'll see this in film, or just look it up online or read about him. With that relationship is like he did let that person into his life. He did let that person become his manager. He did fire the good managers that he had. His relationship with his longtime writing partner, I can't remember the guy's name in the film, that is done really nicely. I just want to actually add that. That's done kind of nicely in the film. He really doesn't take ownership of how that relationship falls out. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. I guess you have to watch the film to see what I'm talking about. You know, if you get addicted to drugs, okay, you get addicted to drugs. Like, take ownership of it. You made the choices to do those drugs in the first place, to get involved in that type of stuff. And he made the choice, of course, to get out of it. Good for him. But the reality is, don't blame everybody else for it. And that's what this film does, is Elton John absolving himself from his involvement in the bad things that happened in his life. And that, I think, is probably a bit distorted. I don't know. I'm not Elton John. Or I shouldn't say I don't know Elton John. So maybe that is how it worked out. There you go. I don't know if I'd go see it in theaters. I didn't think it was all that great as a theatrical film. I'd wait for it to come out on video on demand and watch it that way. And that's my review. Let me know if you disagree, agree.